All right, hey everybody. This is Mike, and welcome to the very first session of the very first campaign of the Ironhead Chronicles Redemption. With me are four phenomenal characters, and that I'm very excited to be playing with today. What we'll do is I'll just let them go through and talk about themselves or characters. And yeah, so we'll start on the left, and the first person there will be Chad. Chad, if you could describe yourself, character.
Yeah, guys. Hi, my name is Chad Nick there, folks. I have a YouTube channel of the same name, Chad Nick, K-N-I-C-K. And I also run a blog called gastrogamer.wordpress.com. I do a lot of accessibility reviews and talk about video games, tabletop games, and how we can use that to further education and further accessibility in the gaming universe. As far as who I'm going to be playing today, I'm going to be playing Varys the Veil White Ren. He's an elven paladin.
Right on. Cool. And next up, we have Harry. Harry, if you do the same, please.
Hi. Yeah, I'm Harry. I run a channel with Lionel called Two Guys T&D&D. We just sort of do RPGs and run one-shots. My character's called Knuckles. He's a Dragonborn fighter.
That is so awesome. And we have Matt. Matt.
I am Matt B, and I believe my channel ends up looking like Matt B as well, as it's called. And I'll be playing Gideon Sigil Fitcher, and he's a wild magic sorcerer. As for me, I can be seen on sort of actively in the OSG, as well as the Tides of Change Star Wars role-playing group. Anyway, excited for this game. On to the next.
Right on, right on. And of course, last but certainly not least, we have a bold and beautiful player. Marquise, if you could please tell us about yourself and your channel.
Not a problem, brother. I'm the bold and the beautiful Marquise Artist. I am someone of little consequence at the moment. Just to keep this short, I'm playing a beautiful little woman by the name of Brielle Baptiste, and that's all I'm going to share for that for now. Excited to be here.
All right, awesome. Well, we have our four players. We have a campaign. So let's just get to her. The shouts of elation and joy still reverberate off the hull of the steel beast that you are currently residing in. The 1,000 pairs of feet charging off the gantry-way into the waiting arms of joyous husbands and wives. So much happiness. It almost permeates the hull of the ship. Tears flow and voices crack with both trepidation, happiness, and of course sadness. But of course, none of this is for you. There's no joy for you, no happiness, no arms to run into, because you are sitting in a cage, each one of you in a small gridded mesh cage in a row, deep in the bowels of this steam vessel. The heartbeat of this creature still resounding, excuse me, because words and stuff, echoing through as a slow and steady heartbeat. Leaving Castor happened hours? Days? You're not even sure. Time just seems relative in this place. You remember seeing the 3 other prisoners loaded down from a single door in this kind of brig area, and each one shoved into another cell. As the 4 of you are each in an individual cell. You can see the three other prisoners that have been brought in kind of across a hallway in other areas or in other cells of the ship. You see a woman who she sits down and she's kind of biting her nails a bit and stands up, walks around, sits back down again. To the right of her, you see a man who's actually leapt up, grabbed onto the top of this mesh, and is actually doing pull-ups. He is bare-chested, but with many tattoos all over his body. His small goatee has been tightly braided into this tiny little rat tail. Smiling as he's like pulling up with his arms. You can even see the mesh like cutting into his fingers, but he just doesn't care. He just keeps on doing pull-ups basically. And of course, to the far right of him, at the very end, you see a man just sitting with his head in his hands, just shaking his head. And that's pretty much all you see. Everything else is steel and rivets. The sound of the ship as you seem to be moving in a direction. What would you gentlemen like to do?
Yeah, so Knuckles, this sort of dirty brass dragonborn, he's pretty big, and he's just going to be sort of hunched down against the bars, just sort of clicking his claws along the ground. That sort of, don't know if you can hear that. Almost bored. He's just going to be just looking around.
She would be beautiful if not for the circumstances. The dark bags under her eyes, deep and telling of exhaustion. Her hair is kept up in a hardly kempt bun, strands falling across her face. Her eyes, both hazel jewels essentially, fleck up towards the Dragonborn, and she frowns, and that frown turns to a sneer the longer that he's clicking his claws on the ground. And she says, "Can you stop doing that over there? You're giving me a headache." And she just watches him, having finally snapped, kind of like sucking on her lower lip, and then quickly looks back away from him, uninterested in what he says, and knowing that more than likely he will continue to click his claws.
Yeah, I just keep on clicking. I mean, if anyone wants to look over, you just see this big, toothy grin, just fangs, and just keeps on clicking.
And so the ginger-haired bloke wrapped in a velvety cloth, he's kind of sitting cross-legged, very tall and lanky, and he's kind of flashing into a moment, and they're screaming, yelling, and he hears this yelling, and then the yelling is interrupted by the of the claws, and he kind of snaps to. And he reaches behind, and he grabs and caresses cautiously this metal collar that is around his neck, and it thrums, active in some way. And there's a sharp pain in his collarbone. He winces a little and looks around. And back to the bloke who's shaking or rocking back and forth, and kind of like nods knowingly as he's there.
And in the far corner, probably closer to the woman than the others, a man sits on, if there's a bench that he has options to sit on, or if there's something that he can sit on other than just the ground of the ship, I imagine that he is sitting there, eyes closed for a moment, and in his head he sees people, just people. And then he hears a child's scream, a pain of agony, and he hears a shh, and that's it. And immediately his eyes open up. And Mike, you can tell me, is there any sort of light being cast into this room?
Yeah, with the swing of the ship, there are some overhead lights that are kind of attached to some steel girders that are basically providing like some structural integrity for the vessel. Everyone can see above them because basically you guys are all basically in a steel cage, like a steel mesh cage. The only bars that are there are pretty much at the door, but everything else is steel. You guys can see from one cell to another, but you could not actually physically put your hand through to the next person. Like you can maybe get a finger through, but that's pretty much about it.
Okay, perfect. So as the ship is rocking to and fro, as it's moving forward, the light that's cast, anyone around him can see this pale-skinned elf, and his eyes open, and they're this almost iridescent yellow color. And he wakes up from this sitting position in a sweat, and he looks around, and who does he see to his left?
More than likely Brielle. Unless Mike has a different idea.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so he looks to Brielle. And then he looks down at his hands, seeing them cuffed. Even though he knows that this has happened, he looks to her and says, I never thought this would happen to either of us. And for what it's worth, I'm sorry, you know.
You know, Pally boy, if you really want to be sorry, you could break the cuffs right now, go out and stop that damn iguana over there from clicking his nails on the floor for the next 5 minutes.
If only I could. But I'm kind of at a loss. And let's be fair. Knuckles has, well, he's had his share of hard times. He does things just like any of us do to calm his nerves. You, of all people, BB, should understand that.
Applesauce, Pally boy, just look at the man. First off, we call him Knuckles when he has claws. Second off, he's never done this before on anything else we've done. I don't understand why little jail cell is bringing the whole hoopla over here.
And the sigil doesn't say anything, but he just leans his head against the bars as if like trying to push it through, and he can't move further than the bars. And he just there's a deep sigh. through gritted teeth. And he opens his eyes, and you see just the faintest flicker beneath the poppy red glass goggles that are over his eyes that they have been gracious enough to let him keep, as they provide him no benefit but slightly better sight. His vision fading, and he looks around the cell and towards the one that's doing pull-ups, and he says, "Getting ready for an escape, mate?"
And as you say that, he's kind of at the apex, and as he comes down, he hops down. His fingers are like fairly cut up. Escape? And he says it and smiles through like almost like yellow, like very yellowish, almost like slime-covered teeth. Like the man basically looks like a giant d-bag. I mean, he kind of licks his teeth. Nah, I'm getting ready. Neverhope Prison. It's not what they say. It's not the way it is. Everyone always says, you go to Neverhope, you never escape. You go to Neverhope to die. Nah, not me. I'm gonna run Neverhope. I've been in and out of prisons all my life. Keeps, bastions, doesn't matter. I'm gonna go in, and I'm gonna rule this place. And this one, and he points to the woman beside him, her and I are gonna get to know each other real well. Aren't we, sweetheart? And she, like, you see her now, she kind of looks up, like she realizes she's, being addressed, and she kind of backs up away from the guy, like, as much as possible, and, you just stay away from me. Stay away from me, stay away from me. I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be going to Neverhope. It's not my fault. I'm just a thief. I steal things, sure, but I just needed to eat. I need to live. It's not fair. It's not fair. And then you hear from the furthest right, the guy basically just takes his head out of his hands. Why don't you two keep it down over there? And you four, why don't you just shut up?
Why don't you just shut up, jackass over there yelling? Jeez. And she moves closer now to the edge of the cage, and she sits down. She's looking at the girl who's being intimidated by the guy who's trying to basically run Neverhope. And she looks dead at her, and she says, "Now listen here, you can't be a wet blanket, sweetie. If he's going to come onto you like that, you got to push back at him. Otherwise, he's going to keep doing it all day, and you ain't going to get nowhere, all right? I'm trying to help you out. Girl to girl here."
I'm just scared. I've heard the stories of this place. I know what Neverhope is like, and I don't want to go. I don't want to go there. I don't.
Well, it doesn't matter what you want to do, sweetie. You're going anyway. I mean, we're already on the train there.
No, you don't. I think maybe I'll do it. Maybe I'll ask the jailer when he comes. I'll ask him to do it.
Ask him to do what?
And at that, you hear this kind of, and this big heavy steel door kind of opens up, the only door in this entire room, and you hear the footsteps. It's kind of. You see this man. He's standing with a large duster, but this duster doesn't look like any other normal one. It almost seems like there are these like geometric plates of steel sewn in between the duster, so the man is essentially almost wearing a full plate of armor, but it is sewn into this heavy, extremely heavy like trench coat, this leather trench coat. Begins walking. He has a kind of a large, like wide-brimmed hat, like pointed, kind of like hung low onto his head. He has a kind of a very large revolver beside him. Welcome, prisoners. My name is Sir Ulda Shrike. I am here to take you to Neverhope Prison. As far as I'm concerned, you're all scum. And he kind of turns to your guys' side of the brig, some more than others. As is required by tradition and by honor, I am here to give you a merciful end should you choose to take it over going to Neverhope. And he begins walking, and you can see he's a tall man. He's probably about a good 6'9", and he's a big boy. So I mean, this duster he's wearing probably weighs almost 100 pounds of sewn-in steel and leather. And even though he's a tall guy, the revolver at his hip almost goes midway down his thigh. The sheer size of this thing. He walks, he stands, he stops at the woman's cell, and he turns and he looks. You wish for a merciful end. And you see her eyes she's about to say something, and she just kind of stops and shrinks back to the very corner of her cell, trying to get as far away from this guy as possible. And she just shakes her head and just hugs her knees. He takes another step forward, another couple steps, and he goes to the man who moments before was doing chin-ups. You. I know who you are. The Shark, they call you. He looks. Yeah, what of it? You wish for a merciful end. It would be more than you deserve. But do you wish for a merciful end? He walks straight up to the bars and looks at him and smiles, and then spits right in his face. You can stuff it. I'm going to enjoy running Neverhope, because no one messes with a shark. Sir Shrike wipes the saliva from his face, rubbing it into his fingers, shakes his head, and continues to walk to the third cell. You. Do you wish for a merciful end? And he looks. He nods his head. Just please make it quick. He reaches down and he pulls out his revolver, kind of cants it to one side, opens up the barrel, the cylinder, snaps it back into place. May the light of the gods have mercy on your soul. Picks it up, aims it, and when he fires it, instead of just a bullet, what comes out of the revolver is actually a very long silver spike. It goes right through his forehead and actually impales him to the side of the ship, and the man is dead in an instant. As he walks back to the cell, he looks at the four of you. I will not offer you a merciful end, because you are not deserving of such a thing. Butchers, killers of men, women, children, the four of you are. You're not even prisoners, you're monsters, the four of you. Slaughtering an entire village of people. It's inhuman. Fortunately for you, you had Sir Baron keep you four under control. I would not have shown such restraint. Would have killed the four of you quickly. He shakes his head.
A bead of sweat rolls down Sigil's forehead as Shrike gets closer, and he doesn't know if it's like a placebo or it's all in his mind, but the thrumming on his neck collar seems to get louder to him as the man gets closer. And there's a shooting pain again in his collar, and he kind of moves back from the bars and takes this in. And for a brief millisecond, sees a flash of bodies around him, dead bodies. And then he snaps to.
Knuckles gonna stop his clicking and look up to the giant man, and you know that ain't me, mate. I don't remember doing any of that. But you know, you tell me you did. You tell me I did. Well, maybe I did. I'm just gonna.
Yes, I'm sure that the four of you are all innocent. Because only we take the most innocent people to Neverhope. And he turns around and he stops, and his revolver is still out. As he's walking, he kind of does, like, he doesn't even look. He just aims the revolver to the shark in the shark's cell, fires the weapon, and actually impales the guy's hand to the back of the bulkhead. And you hear him screaming as this heavy silver spike is actually like through the palm of his hand. And as he walks away, don't worry, Shark. There'll be enough time for you to suffer and never hope. But until then, at least enjoy yourself here. Inquisitor! And you see from the doorway another man steps in. He's wearing completely white robes with a white hood drawn up. Apply the mark! And he just kind of walks off to one side. The figure nods his head, and he grabs a holy symbol at his chest, and he just closes his eyes and kind of holds up his hands to kind of in a stairwell overlooking the cells. You begin to feel kind of a warmth in your right arm, each one of you. It's nothing. It's not painful, but it's just a very delicate warmth in your right arm. And he stops, clenches his hand, lets go, nods his head to Sir Shrike, and just kind of walks back out. Enjoy your stay, and may you all rot and feel the suffer that you have inflicted upon others. And he begins to walk up, and as he begins to walk up, you hear something. Sir, storm's coming, sir. And he kind of walks up, and you hear the door slam shut behind you, or behind him.
The moment the door slams shut, Brielle finally lets out her breath. She's not particularly intimidated by Shrike. After all, she just came back from old Wyster, where she's seen demons and devils and tieflings and other horrors beyond imagination. But she does not like the man, and she kind of just shakes her head as he leaves and the door closes, whispering something probably sassy to herself as she reaches up to the top button of her prison uniform and unbuttons the top several buttons and begins to slide it down the right side of her arm. And she's trying to see if there's any actual mark there, or if it's something like spiritual or magical or what.
And you do. You see on your right arm, you see a kind of like an extremely faded scar. You just see a very delicate N imprinted on the side of your arm.
And at the side of that, Brielle sighs. Pally boy, I didn't. You know how to get rid of this thing? I'm not really in the business on the market for a new tattoo.
And he looks to her. Trust me, as he feels that burning sensation as well. He looks to her. I don't know how long we've been here. I don't remember. But trust me, for as many days as we've been sitting in here, don't you think I would have tried to figure it out by now if I could? I've no idea what that Shrike is up to. And for God's sakes. Now, Mike, real quick, would Varys have any awareness of Shrike at all? Considering that maybe they're both paladins, or he knows that, like...
Yeah, you wouldn't know much about Shrike, as there are many paladins kind of all throughout New Wyster, and they all form a force that is now called the Enclave. It is almost like a protectionist force that is kind of keeping, think of it like DHS, right? Department of Homeland Security. So think of them kind of in the same vein, that they are trying to keep New Wyster safe from devil or demonic influences, as the war had really pushed that sort of evil kind of like onto New Wyster. So a lot of people were scared. A lot of people joined up with Enclave forces. Some are like true paladins, you know, given gifts and touched by the gods. Others aren't. They are simply just like kind of like holy forces, or like a holy military.
At that point, then, he just looks at her. If you ask me, at the end of the day, consider yourself lucky. He didn't shoot you. You're still alive. And you're not a monster. If anything, a Shrike is one. He does not represent what a good man should be.
Well, Pally boy, you've always been a stand-up citizen. If we ignore the fact that, well, you know, you kind of ruined my entire life way back when, killed my daddy, and did all kinds of other things. But, you know, looking past that, I kind of wish I was a monster, because if you shot me, you know, I won't have to listen to this. I don't have any nice words for him, Pally boy, but this shark over here screaming is really starting to give me a headache, even though Dragon Boy over there finally stopped clicking.
And the quickness of Baptista's speech always put Sigil's head in a whirlwind as he's trying to hold on, and he just looks over to her, listening.
Yeah, so as Brielle says that, Knuckles just looks up and looks over to all four of you, and he says, "So, we breaking out of here or what?"
And I think Varys at that moment would kind of laugh a little bit. This is Neverhope. Knuckles. Look, I understand. You've been a cage fighter all your life. You probably think that this should be easy. But it's not like when you got sent off to the war. This vessel, Neverhope, everything I've heard of it, you don't escape it. You don't get rid of it. It's a presence. It's a thing. It's a... Hell, Neverhope is its own person. If it had arms and legs, it would stomp around. I tell you, there's very little hope. but I try to hang on to some.
Well, if you ignore Pally Boy's waxing poetry, and he's still right, because I don't know what you know that I know, Knuckles, about how the streets work, but Neverhope has a lot of dark reputations, a lot of dark stories around it. Doesn't really do anyone any good favors. You know what I'm saying? What I'm trying to tell you is, Knuckles, is you gotta be real knuckleheaded if you think you're gonna be escaping here anytime soon.
You can't exactly eat your way out of the walls. They are made of hard steel. And he clinks his hand against the bars.
Why would you think that eating your way through the bars would do anything in the first place, buddy?
And at that, I need everyone to make dexterity saving throws.
Since I don't have chat 'cause I'm on my phone, I'll announce my beautiful score of a 2.
2. Yeah, I gotta love chat for that. Oh. Apparently Harry didn't do much better. So, both Knuckles and... is it okay if I call you BB, Marquis?
Yeah, that's her nickname, so go ahead, yeah.
Cool. So, both BB and Knuckles, you're suddenly thrown to one side of the ship, or one side of your cell. Your shoulders slamming into it, into the side. Varys and Sigil, you manage to kind of stay on your feet as the whole ship is just rocked. The other two prisoners, excuse me. Shark, unfortunately, you could actually see he actually almost comes off the ground, and you see his hand begin to slide off the spike, further causing him to scream in pain as the whole ship just kind of rocks basically to port. And then you hear some shouting. You can almost hear some shouting through the bulkhead, screaming, "Try and keep it steady! I've never seen a storm like this, sir!" And again, the ship begins to try and right itself. You can actually hear now the thunder cracking through the ship's hull. You can hear it reverberating. There's this huge boom, but it doesn't seem to sound like normal thunder.
And as Sigil actually manages to hold his balance, and he's doing this, he says to the I imagine tumbling BB, "I was trying to make a joke," and then he listens to the thunder and he thinks to himself that this is unusual, and but there's something about it, something that he likes. As things start to fall off their hinges, so to speak, and he stays himself and looks around to make sure that his friends or comrades are in one piece, with no concern for the screaming of Shark.
Oh, no one likes Shark.
Oh, yeah, poor Shark. No one's really digging that guy. But no, so BB is thrown, and she's been thrown before because, not to be a dead horse, but, old Wyster in the war and everything, she has suffered from her fair share of physical trauma, and she knows what it's like to be thrown, and when something with too much force hits a vehicle she's in, she does lose her balance, as you said, and she hits the ground hard on the side of the fence. But she's already back rolling to her knees, and she's very steady for once. Her mouth doesn't open. She's not really paying attention to what Sigil says. It's not as if she's a different person, it's more like as if she's simply focused for a moment. And then putting both hands to the ground to steady herself, kind of resting on one knee, she looks from Sigil over to Varys, and she says, "Pally boy, are you you think you think there's Neverhope this is part of the whole train ride over there, or is this just a bad storm on the way to the island?"
With that, you see that like Varys has somehow like vaulted himself up to the top of the cage and then like managed to kind of parkour his way to kind of stabling himself, and he drops down after the rocking stops. I never felt. Look, I've never really ridden in airships, I'll be honest with you, but I have never felt something this fierce before. New Oyster's had its share of weather storms, but this can't be right, can it?
I don't think it is. You'll sit down for a while. I don't want you to hit your head and then some kind of fireball comes spewing out you like it usually does.
And so the ship, the ship rocks to one side and it seems to right itself. And all of a sudden, looking up, you guys see this kind of like a red lightning actually just slams through the roof of this room, straight down the center of the hallway, just cracking through. And it's this almost like a light red lightning. You see now where the lightning had hit. The roof is actually starting to split. An I-beam, one of the I-beams, like kind of holding up the structure of the vessel, begins to like knock back and actually swing down. Shark Cell, unfortunately, is right in the path as it just turns him into absolute mush as it drags through and slams into your guys' cells. It tears open some of the cells as it bashes into the side of the bulkhead, and you can actually see the ship is starting to split in half. It is starting to like just basically crack. You can start seeing the other floors of the vessel going straight up to the top deck.
So, we're going to escape now, or what?
Yeah, he's Sigil's looking up with eyes of wonder, and he looks to the others to make sure they're to see if any of them has this split opened any of our cells.
Well, the I-beam had crashed into some of your cells, like knocking holes, like splitting your cells open. But the actual hull itself of the ship is actually just basically starting to like open up and split up. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So yeah, carefully, still looking up, kind of like sweating and shaking a little bit with his hands. He just inches over, fearful that red light is gonna come down and smoke him if he steps out of this cell. But he takes the first step and looks around, like wide-eyed.
And what about the other three of you? What do you guys plan on?
As the red light shoots through and breaks the hull, and the I-beam kind of slams into us, I imagine that it hits Riel's cell first, but it sends Riel's cell into my cell, and then it pops open, like just cracking the meshing of the cell. And Varys has nothing. No weapons, no armor, no nothing. Everything was taken from him prior to... Oh, we do have... Okay, we do, okay. So he has his armor on, but his weapons, everything, gone. And he looks around, and he just takes an elbow. I mean, he's not a very strong man, but he knows that he has to escape at this point. if they don't start doing something, if he doesn't start to try to help his friends, it's going to go down, and they're going to go down with it. So he takes an elbow and just slams it into the corner of this cell, popping, like trying to just pop the hinges off the corners and kick the door open.
I was muted. Please make me a strength check.
So Varys, not being that structurally aware, he smashes his elbow into the side of this cell, and you can hear him just wince from the pain, because I rolled it too. So essentially, like, I imagine he goes up with like this Muay Thai elbow, just BAM! And it clinks right in the funny bone, right in that area where it's just the most painful expression you can think of. It's, oh, son of a... Oh, Shalimar, be damned, this fucking hurts!
I know that feeling all so well. God, I hate that feeling. But yeah, as you do it, it doesn't quite... It can't quite open it up. Although you do see like one area of your cell that has been kind of like torn open a bit. You know, it probably wouldn't take you much to just kind of like pull the mesh to one side. Now that the mesh is not like basically connected, think of it a lot like tempered glass. If you've ever seen something like that, tempered glass is very strong once it's hooked together, but when it's loose, it's actually very, very weak. So the same thing with this like steel mesh. Once it's been like torn off the connection point, you know, it seems like it's not terribly difficult to kind of peel back. The hull begins to crack more. It is now splitting off. You can actually see sailors running around the top deck. Some they're just screaming at each other. The wind is just fiercely howling all around, and more red lightning keeps slamming into the ship as if it seems to be attracted to it. Like the superstructure, parts of the hull, you know, even like it almost looks like the lightning is trying to find something, and it just keeps on like arcing to different points, hitting different points that normal lightning just doesn't seem to do. It like normally lightning finds the highest point and then goes straight down, but this one, it just keeps striking different areas of the ship.
Okay, so Knuckles is gonna stand up, and he's looking around his cage for sort of any damage on the meshing, whether something's come through it. And if he sees that, he's gonna just go up to it and put his claws in that gap and just wrench it apart with all of his strength. Would to roll anything?
Yeah, just roll me a strength check. Giver.
There's athletic jobbies or just pure strength?
You know what? Whichever one. Yeah, you easily just grab the mesh and you just peel it back as if it was made of paper. It seemed really damaged, and it's just like open straight up, so you can exit your cell.
Yeah, I'm just gonna climb out and look to like anyone stuck in their cells and just need an end.
So, to BB, the lightning reminds her very distinctly of New Bell, the city so-called of warring lights. It comes down and it blinds her, and the sound of the echoing thunder actually deafens her for a moment, because she was basically right across, in my mind, from Shark's cell. She was right there from when the lightning came straight down, and it stunned her when it did, and when the I-beam came down and knocked the cell over, she was still stunned. And she's lying with her back kind of slanted on the already slanting wall of her cell. and when she becomes to, I guess, come to is almost what I'm looking for. When her senses and her wits begin to return to her, she hears Pally Boy cussing. She can hear the tearing of the metal mesh, and she looks up. Her eyes kind of narrowing, wincing, her pupils slowly dilating, at the Dragonborn Knuckles stepping out of his cell. And licking her lips, she looks around her cell, and I'm assuming that she sees the same tears in the mesh as well. She closes her eyes, and she takes a deep breath, because again she's focused here, and she's pushing away distractions from her mental scape. And she reaches out towards Knuckles. It's not physically, it's not spiritually, it's not magically. It's something else. It's a secret of hers. And as she reaches out, memories begin to kind of form themselves in her mind. Memories that are not of her own. She experiences fighting in the cages. She experiences the breaking of bones, the feeling of scales on flesh as Knuckles' fists would smash in the skulls of people he was fighting. And as these memories fill her mind, the own pathways of her brain are restructuring themselves. What I'm essentially doing is I'm using my Mind Vault discipline for my mystic features. I'm using the focus to give me proficiency in athletics, and I'm spending 2 sign points to borrow expertise to essentially gain advantage on my next skill or saving throw. And as these is that okay?
Oh yeah, that's more than okay. That was the coolest thing ever. Note to self: play mystics.
Yes, Mystic is amazing. But as these experiences fill her and her mind restructures itself, she reaches outwards, and almost it's a perfect mimicry of how Knuckles went to tear open the mesh. So I'm gonna go ahead and roll for that. Hold on 1 second here. There we go. All right, so I got an 18 total.
Oh yeah, I think you're good.
Okay, so it's exactly mimicking how Knuckles did it as she tears open the mesh, almost like it was, like it was silly string essentially. And she steps out and she rolls her shoulders. You can hear the popping in them. And she turns to Knuckles and she winks, and then she moves over to where Pally Boy is. And she looks at him and she looks at the elbow and she says, "You need a hand there, little cutie, or cash or check? What we doing here?"
And as she says that, like coming behind her, having stepped out, Sigil just says, "You never cease to amaze me with what you can do."
Oh, applesauce, don't go flattering me. Now we got bigger things to worry about. Now come on, Pally Boy, you need help getting out, or what you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. And he takes a boot, I think, at this point. Just like, I don't need help. I don't want, I'm good. Thanks. And he just to prove her wrong, just like kicks the most open mesh hole, pushing a foot through the hole and like opening it up so that he can crawl out. See, I can do this myself, baby. I don't need you.
And as you crawl through the mesh, you guys are now in the actual kind of hallway itself. There's still, the woman is still kind of like in her cell, and she's, "Please help me, please help me, help."
Yeah, come down, sweet cakes, I'm coming over. And BB quickly, she's moving with a purpose to get to that cell, because as I said earlier, she was kind of watching her back earlier when Shark was regretfully still alive. So as she reaches the cell, she turns and she shoots darts like from her eyes over towards Knuckles, basically telling him to come to her. And she's going to try and, with hopefully Knuckles' help, rip open the meshing, or at least enough of it so that way she can crawl out. Does Knuckles help?
Yeah, I'm just gonna give her a grin and then just move over, climbing up all the sort of steel beams straight over to this this cage, and dig my claws in, ready to rip it apart.
So for that roll, I got a 12.
Okay. And Knuckles? Oh, yeah, okay. So, BB, as you try and like tug at it, you could feel the mesh kind of cutting into your hand a bit. It hurts a little bit, but you're still trying to open it up for And then Knuckles just comes around, and with his claws, he just almost like cuts into the mesh with his claws and just peels it back. So eventually it just splits open, pulling outward, and she just crawls out. Thank you. Where do we go?
Well, right now we're kind of 100 miles in the air, being struck by lightning, and we got one last poor sap in the cage down there, the one who told us all shut up early. Yo, Sap, you still alive down there?
He's actually dead. He has a rather large silver spike through his skull. Yeah.
Oh, I remember now, yeah.
Yeah, you don't really get up from that.
Yeah. And BB kind of scratches her head, not really knowing what she expected. And she kind of sighs as she turns back to the rest of the gang, and she says, so, any pointers about how to handle this whole air blowing up situation?
Is everyone healthy? Is everybody okay?
I think so. I still have this thing, and he's gripping the collar.
Well, it doesn't really look like something we can pick too easily, does it? And she runs over to him, and she's standing on her tippy toes, because I imagine this was kind of a taller guy. And she's looking at the collar, trying to see if there's some kind of hole for like a key lock to pick or something like that. And if not, she just kind of sits back down and looks at him like, well, guess you're fucked right now.
Mike, what does it look like?
You tell me. It's on your body.
Yeah. Okay. So it's just like this metal collar. It's gold. It looks almost golden, like a slightly amber gold, as it seems to thrum over and over again, with a low noise that you can hear, BB. But yeah, you don't see any keyholes, and yeah, he just sighs and says, "Okay, well, it looks like," and he looks up. The only way is up.
Well, I hope you all realize that if we leave this hall, I mean, we're kind of, stuck between a rock and a hard place right now. But if we leave this hall right now, we have the problem of them trying to shoot us because we are escaped convicts, yeah? Criminals, we're on the lam.
All right. Well, first things first. Let's get aware of our surroundings and then try to find our belongings. If we can somehow get a hold of some sort of defense, at least then we'll be able to make our way up and see what all the fuss is about.
I'm kind of wishing I had wings right now, so I could just fly right out on here, but well, I guess we'll have to do it the normal way. And he's just gonna he's gonna look up at the big split you said in the roof. I mean, what can he see up there other than the sailors just
So
running around?
at this point, the split, the whole ship is basically breaking in half like this. So basically now you can start. You can actually see, it now runs the whole length of the this entire place, the entire room, and you can actually start to see all the individual decks. You see about 3 other decks, seems like to be living quarters and other areas of the vessel, things like that, and, maybe a mess hall or somewhere to eat. And then you see you can see the top deck, so you can see the whole thing is split, and it's actually starting to kind of basically just snap more and more and more as lightning just continues to batter the hull, the vessel, and all the other decks. The lightning just seems to be searching for something.
This besides the magics of the war, this is probably one of the more amazing things that Gideon has ever seen. And this is just this gargantuan thing, the city boy, low criminal, from his early days, just looking up, kind of dumbfounded at how to deal with this problem, because either way, if this thing splits in half, it's going to be tumbling anyway. And he looks to the others and says, there must be escape vessels. There must be some way to get off this thing. In the event of an accident. And he looks up, wide-eyed.
And you can see that Varys's eyes glow a little bit. In the red light, they're glowing this like yellow amber color, and we need to go now. The longer we wait, the worse it's going to get. So, I imagine that at that point, I'm going to look around the floor, look around wherever we can, to try and find like the nearest possible escape route, whether it's toward our gear or whether it's toward whatever. Mike, you can kind of tell me where I'm going to go. I'm going to roll an investigation check for that to see what I can find out.
Actually, no roll is necessary.
Oh, okay.
You guys are basically in a brig area, with a couple of rows of cells. There's only one door from the actual room itself. So, that's basically your one avenue of escape.
So I would then think that I would have moved kind of toward the back, and I'm kind of navigating any survivors, like going through all of these cages, everything, any survivors that are here that are in the process of possibly dying on the ship. Even if I know that they're criminals, deep down, I cannot watch a human being like die.
It was just you guys. Basically,
Okay.
it was just the 7 of you that were in cells. Everything else is just empty.
Okay, so I would imagine that he would just be like leading them to like, let's go to the door. As soon as we go through the door, we're gonna open up the door, and on the other side, whatever we see, then we'll think about defense. We'll think about like getting guns and armor or whatever we need to do after that.
And yeah, he'll like Gideon will be hustling with haste, nodding, and he'll lean towards the girl, the NPC girl, and we'll say, it'll be okay, but stay strong. Use your eyes. And he pushes forward.
She nods her head. I will. But my name is Mala. And you can see now, looking at her, she's a very extremely attractive young woman, and her ears, like, she seems to be a half elf. Her ears are slightly pointed. Her face is a bit more angular. She seems, but she seems like very, very worried. But even in her fear and her concern, she's still a very, like a very, very attractive young woman. She seems to be looking at you, BB, kind of for some reassurance. Like she's just very, very scared.
Yeah, and BB is going to take her hand. She's not going to say anything. She's going to follow directly after Varys, keeping a very tight, almost vice-like grip on Mala's hand to the point where like her knuckles are going white, because she knows this girl is weak. She knows this girl is frail, and she knows that without this type of guidance, this girl will die. Either that, or she's one of the best damn liars she's ever seen. So that being said, following Varys, she's going to go out of the door with Mala in hand, and she's going to be looking for any kind of like air lifeboat, escape vessel, anything that can get her the hell out of Dodge and off this slowly crumbling airship.
Okay. As you So as you guys burst through the doorway, you just see a hallway that seems to, at the end of the hallway, just lead to a set of metal stairs, the metal like kind of circular stairs, kind of going up. There's seems to be no other doors. It's just a kind of a straight hallway, kind of like in the one way. You can hear the sloshing of water as you go, indicating that you're actually not on an airship, but on a waterborne steamship. So I mean, you guys are like basically sailing in the ocean, heading to Neverhope until you hit this very odd storm. Going at the end, you guys make it to the end of the stairwell. It's tough to hear anything, so if you guys want to, you can try and make perception checks. It is tough to hear anything, just given the amount of noise going on. However, with BB, with your incredible passive perception, you can just barely make out the sound of kind of feet just running above, kind of at the top of the stairwell. Because it seems, as looking up, since it's a kind of circular stairwell, you can kind of make out that there is just a door, and it goes up probably about a good 10, 20 feet.
So BB stops. I'm actually at the front of the party with Mala still in hand. She's taking in all this information bit by bit and processing it extremely quickly. First, the fact that there's water, which means it is, like you said, it's a waterborne ship. That means that Pally Boy was wrong on that, which also gives her hope, because that means they won't be falling 1,000 miles out of the sky into the ground now. That being said, with Mala still in hand, she looks up the stairway. You said it was a spiral staircase, I believe? Or was it just straight? Spiral? Okay.
Yeah, it's a spiral, yeah.
Right. And she notices a door, but she hears the voices, and she looks down, and she looks to the right towards Knuckles, and she says, I think that A should go before Beauty here, and we need you to lead the way, please, so that way if they start shooting, you can, do your little Dragon Ball pew-pew mouth thing, and we can move on out.
Alright then, follow me. And he's just gonna take to the stairs, just like, ugh, why me? Kind of slumped his shoulders. He's gonna climb up all the way up, and just once he gets to the top, he's just gonna is there like a door handle or something? He's just gonna slowly push it down and just have a peek through the sort of little gap.
Sure, not a problem. So as you open it up just a crack, just do me a favor, make me just a perception check, just to see what happens there. Okay, so there's, I mean, you definitely see that you've opened up into a lower part of the top deck. So it seems to be outside. The rain though and the wind is just pushing on the door, so you're having a tough time. So you can just open it up a little bit, but you do see people, like probably about few people just kind of running around. You see some guys. You see some people are like even like jumping into lifeboats and just taking off. Right now, like basically the whole thing is just utter chaos and pandemonium.
So
Alright,
yeah, I was just gonna say my mind immediately snaps to the lifeboats. That's it.
Yeah, so he's just gonna turn around, look sort of behind him to where the other guys are, and just well, it's now or never, I guess. Well, people are leaving, so we're gonna get one of those boats before they all run out. So let's just
Stop
go.
talking and start running, boy. And she runs past you, Molly's still in hand, and she's not hesitating because, again, we've just been through war with each other. She knows you guys are athletically capable. So she runs past you, Molly in hand, and she looks back over her shoulder, just screaming like, "Come on already, we ain't got all day to be waiting." And she's running towards either the nearest lifeboat or just to the edge of the ship at the very least, so she can just kind of jump back into one before it's too late.
All right, cool. So so door slams open. You see like just a few people on the deck. Some are just like running, jumping off the side of the ship. If any of you guys want to make me an investigation check to see if there's one more lifeboat for you.
I can do it if no one else does. I'll go ahead and roll, unless someone already rolled.
Yep, someone already rolled.
Okay.
So you see one. It seems to be just kind of hanging off of one rope, but it is still attached. So you do think you can kind of get to it, but you guys are definitely gonna have to work together to try and get it up. All of a sudden, you do hear this like resounding, like the whole ship is just protesting, trying to keep itself together, and all of a sudden, boom! This whole thing splits. The bow of the ship, which you are currently on, almost rocks backward. I'm going to need you guys to make dexterity checks as you see the stern of the ship kind of tear away, lift straight up, and flip onto its front end as it begins to sink beneath the waves.
4.
Okay. So Knuckles and BB, you guys are rocked back, almost pushed into the stairwell. You slam up against the back end of the door. Each one of you suffers 3 points of bludgeoning damage, as your heads are wrung with hitting the side of it. Gideon and Varys, you guys managed to kind of steady your feet and almost grab onto the deck plating before you guys also have met with a kind of a similar pain. The lifeboat now kind of like it had almost flipped up and is still just hanging to the side of the ship.
So I'd like to. First of all, I look back to see if Mala and Mala, BB, and Knuckles kind of weren't impaled or something in their fall. And once I see they're just ruffled up, I'm actually gonna, no time wasted, try to scramble up to unhook this lifeboat that's hanging.
Okay.
And I think I would also be, I look back in concern, and then I would also be working with Sigil to get that together. The faster we can get this done, the faster we can get off this boat, the better for us.
Sure. Okay, so as you two are beginning to make your way over, this red lightning begins to again slam into the bow of the ship. It actually even comes forward and almost strikes you, Varys. It just like almost ricochets, skitters off the metal plating. It doesn't seem to the lightning doesn't seem to travel anywhere. Like it doesn't seem to hit you, but it does seem to crackle throughout, just kind of grasping. It seems like to be grasping into the deck plating and then kind of going away, and then grasping in another area and kind of going away. I need both of you guys to make a strength check to see if you guys can grab at the lifeboat.
I also absolutely, and I also wanted to I understand climbing is strength, but would there be any reason for any kind of acrobatics, like hopping between anything to reach it, or no, not relevant?
No, I would say it's more of an athletics thing. Acrobatics would be trying to flip through something or something to that effect.
And last but not least, I kind of want to know if it's relevant to tap Arcana with regards to this lightning.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So what
So
you
they
guys are?
pass.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You go.
No, go. I was confused. I thought someone was making some kind of check. If they're not, I'll go ahead and do something, or you can go ahead.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was just gonna say I'm like getting myself up and right there, ladies, need a hand. Just sort of offering you like a hand to sort of help you get up. Um,
a clawed hand with sharp teeth.
yeah. Mind yourself
Wait,
on the claws.
wait, did we lose Mike? Mike, are you still here?
No, he just in chat he just said he'll be back in a
Uh,
second. Basically,
okay.
yeah. So we're struggling with the lifeboat, and it's you.
All right. So I guess I'll wait for him to get back. So I just go. Yeah, I just go ahead and wait for him. It's like an impromptu break then. That's what it's looking like. Unless he wants to go ahead and do something.
Well, I just what do you guys? How did you guys deal with the fall?
So BB, I imagine it's something like this, right? So the ship broke in half completely, and it went completely end over end in a ways. So I imagine from her perspective, she was looking at the other side of the ship, and the next thing she knows is she's seeing the twisting gray of the sky above, the rain hitting her in the face, and the constant flashes of red lightning. There's no in between. There's no point A to point B. It's simply she's staring forward, and now she's staring upwards, and then the pain shoots up her back. She feels it in her kidneys and her shoulders, everything, and her hand opens up, which means she lets go of Mala. And the first thing she does is seeing the Dragonborn knuckles above her, she turns over her kind of flipping and falling a bit, grabs the lip of the door so she's kind of like hanging off of it, and she's looking down to see exactly where Mala is, if she can find her anywhere.
Mala, since you guys were holding each other's hands, Mala kind of fell with you. She was like just a little bit dazed. She looks at you kind of with hope because you seem to have your stuff together pretty good, and she's drawing hope from that, like kind of like, okay, you know what, this girl's got her shit wired tight. I better, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to be strong because she kind of sees that in you.
All right, good. So BB looks up to Knuckles. She says, "Get the dame, or I can't be bothering with this all day." And she turns and flips back onto her stomach, and hoping that Knuckles listens, she begins to kind of, I guess, bear crawl, trying to climb her way back up the ship to where the lifeboat is, seeing that it's hanging. Because from her perspective, it's either that or a very, very nasty ride to the bottom of the sea.
Yeah. Now, for your Arcana check, and again, I apologize for having to run off, but okay, so for your Arcana check, you can tell that this is some type of a spell. Someone is definitely casting something against this vessel, and the spell seems to be something to do with trying to seek out. So it almost seems like some sort of a seeking spell or some type of evocation. It's weird magic. Like, you're not really sure about this stuff. Like, it's different than what you're used to.
Yeah, and he's looking at this like honed lightning, and he as it strikes the most recent time, he just has a flash in that moment, and realizes all the things you just said, and kind of keeps it to himself, but just like under his breath, it's just like ominous magic, and he has a bad feeling as he's wrestling very poorly. As you guys definitely know, he is weak, and he's wrestling very poorly with this thing, this lifeboat.
Yeah, I imagine that Sigil and Vale are essentially like they're fighting this boat, trying to get it to right itself. But it's like watching two toddlers fight over a toy. The way that like it's rocking back and forth, and we're trying to get it to go together, but we're not strong people at all.
I was gonna say like almost like movers, like carrying something upstairs, and one is just way weaker than the other, but they're still both weak. So I'm just like under the thing, getting smothered by it a little bit.
It's the couch scene from Friends, where like Tilt! Tilt!
And you know, as you guys are both fighting with it, you know, kind of trying to pick it up, trying to like get it close to you. Again, the ship rocks again. It lurches to one side as you can tell it's in its final death throes. BB and Knuckles, are you guys now going towards the lifeboat?
Yeah, BB is bear crawling towards that shit.
Okay, and of course Mala is also in tow as well. How about you, Knuckles?
Yeah, I would have he would have helped Mala up, and then sort of, you know, walking at that angle as I'm sure the boat's sort of beginning to flip, and the steepness of the deck is probably quite difficult to walk on. And he's going to sort of just start marching towards this boat, and then he's going to just reach up a hand and just try and hold it steady while holding onto a railing to sort of anchor himself down, trying to help just wrench this boat in so they can get in it.
Okay, actually make me a strength check on that one. Let's see if you can actually save these other two from humiliation and death.
Nope.
And as you grab onto it, the ship actually lurches to one side, and you try and grab. You realize that you can either grab onto the boat and kind of pull it forward, but you'll probably fall into the ocean, or you can steady yourself. And you decided to be smart and steady yourself instead. The boat's still dangling. I'm going to need everyone now to make dexterity saving throws, possibly for the last time. Who knows?
Gosh, I got an 8.
So all of a sudden, the ship again actually begins just to spin, and the four of you, Mala included, are thrown from the vessel. As you sail through the air, you know, probably a good 20 feet, you can still see this roiling ocean being assaulted with wind and rain and lightning. As the four of you kind of just smack into the water, like just this big, like, thwack, you begin to kind of lose sight of what is going on. The whole water, everything, the lightning, the sound, the rain, the wind, even the ship screaming for its last voice as it kind of begins to sink beneath the waves. The kind of the vision around the four of you begins to kind of fade in and out as exhaustion begins to set in, and the four of you kind of fade to black. And at this point, we're just going to take a 5-6 minute break. Thank you all for watching right now. We'll pick it up in just a little bit, and we'll see you in a bit. So if you guys want to get up, have a drink, go to the bathroom, smoke, shoot heroin, I don't know, whatever you want to do. I'm not
Go
judging.
make some tea.
Yes, yes, because one cannot D&D without tea
Or heroin.
or heroin.
Heroin. Yeah.
Whatevs. I ain't judging.
Oh man, dude. Okay, I gotta say though, Mike, that whole opening sequence right there, amazing. Like,
Oh, good. Good.
I didn't know what to expect going in, but the idea of us being on a ship and it breaking in half, and like I just pictured like the Titanic sinking, and how we're like, and the immediate responses that you'd have to have in a situation like that. And it just felt real. It felt like, okay, cool, we have a number of, like, it wasn't just like a game, it was a number of steps. We have this many moments before we're screwed. How do we get out of this situation? That just made it more real for me, the more and more you added on.
Good. Well, I'm glad. Yeah, because I like having that kind of, yeah, you know, you guys just want to like hang out and talk it through. That's cool. You know, but you are gonna have to start making dexterity checks because you know, ship's not gonna wait for you to sink. But yeah, no, definitely, and thank you. I'm glad. Like, it's more of like an intro scene, if anything. Wait till the real stuff starts happening. Oh man, you guys are so screwed. But yeah, so yeah, you guys go ahead and make your tea, get a drink. Harry, wish your mom a happy birthday from all of us.
I will.
Yes.
Yeah, just
While
be
you go
like,
make a tea.
4 gentlemen also wanted me to tell you that, hey, happy birthday.
Or
Just
random people. You know.
4 random guys.
All right. I'll actually do that and see how she reacts.
All right, we'll see you after the break.
Tonally inappropriate, but Thunderstruck by AC/DC. Guardians of the Galaxy tone as the ship splits in half. Thunderstruck.
seeing as I'm the first one back. I think I'm gonna go and check out.
Implying I ever left, Chad.
Oh, I was not aware you were back. I'm so used to seeing. I'm so used to seeing your face, Marquise. I don't see it.
I'm on my phone right now, so in order to save data, I just turn off the video.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
How do we know you're beautiful? You're just bold right now.
You gotta accept the fact that I'm beautiful. My words are beautiful, so therefore I too must be beautiful.
Accepted.
Exactly.
It's a pleasure, even. Love your play of the Mystic. It is a.
How'd you enjoy it, buddy?
It's
I can't wait to see your collar break off so I can see the crazy magic come out.
Well, yeah. Like the thing about the Mystic is it's a delicate class, and it's loaded with potential, but it's very easily misplayed.
Alright.
Because it's just technically very strong. So it's hard to. You need an awesome player to bring out the tone of it. And I'm glad we got one.
My mom says, thanks very much.
Well, when the game ends, I want you to tell her happy birthday again, just to make sure she got the. And we wish her a happy birthday.
So I'm wondering, like, are we floating around in the water right now with like
We're on.
nothing
We're
to save
faded to
us?
black, so
Oh no! We don't know. Nothing's going on.
yeah. After the session is over, if we're not dead, I'd appreciate some like player feedback, if that's all right.
Oh yeah, for sure, dude.
Because this is like the second session that I've actually had like a more serious character, so I've GM'd the rest of my time. So yeah, any advice, feedback, it'd be great if I could have that.
Totally, man. Absolutely.
And just a light anecdote. Since we did know each other in the war, you've known Gideon to be quiet and cowardly until it matters. In moments of true stress, he focuses and shines alongside you as a helpful addition to the party. But what you've known so far is he doesn't have a steady head necessarily until it's desperate. Just to
Sorry, I have Mothra trying to get into my room, as it's 9:45 right now in the evening. So.
Well, I assume we're all back.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Right on. Well then, hope everyone got everything that they need. So let's get right back to it. The waves seem to lap gently at your faces as the coarse sand on the beach kind of digs into your faces. The sun is just beginning to rise, and it begins to just kind of warm your faces ever so slightly. You begin to come to looking around kind of through groggy eyes. You just make out a large sandy beach, a forest kind of just not quite encroaching onto the beach, but just a little far out. You see some quite a few trees, and just a little further down along the beach, kind of on a kind of a grassy area, You do see what appears to be kind of a small, kind of mid-size cabin. There's a dock that kind of goes out from it, and what looks to be a small fishing skiff that's kind of tied loosely. It's kind of rolling with the morning waves. So right now, everything seems to be kind of quiet. Any thought of a storm or anything, there doesn't seem to be much evidence of it.
Away from the steamship, and away and having been doused in quite a bit of water, would the anti-magic collar on Gideon Sigil Fitcher have changed?
Not sure. Only you can answer that.
Okay. So yeah, basically what happens is as he exits, like he crawls his way up the sand a little bit, just slightly awake, and suddenly there's a sharp pain in that same spot in his left collarbone, sharper than the ones before, enough that he goes ah, as this radiating pain comes from that spot, and this neck collar goes and just unhinges as whatever power that was holding it together seems to have given up the fight, away from its source, and furthermore muddied by the waters, and it falls to the ground, and he's still like, his eyes are half open, looking through the glass goggles. One of the lenses is cracked, and he reaches out his hand, just like pulling it out of the sand, and you see him just kind of focus for a moment, and in the distance, probably about 25 feet away from him, a crustacean sticking out of the sand starts to shudder. First a little bit, then a little bit more, and it starts to shake, and then with like elastic, abrupt force, it snaps into his hand from 25 feet away. And he sighs relief and just kind of slunks back into the sand.
And what about the rest of you? What are the rest of you doing?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So Knuckles, he's lying on his back. He opens his eyes to the sort of, I guess, clear sky, which is slowly getting brighter as the sun comes up. And he looks down on himself. Just, well, at least I'm alive. And he just brushes the sand off his chainmail and sits up and looks around for his companion, sort of clicking his shoulder and neck muscles and bones, sort of trying to get rid of that achingness that he's got.
476. That's how many numbers of times, of iterations, of experiences, of replays, of different realities play themselves during BB's cutting down the wire that's holding up the lifeboat and jumping into it, and then the lifeboat gets catapulted along with everyone else. She sees herself somehow breaking off the collar from Sigil, Sigil casting a spell, everyone flying to the lifeboats, and then everyone getting catapulted from the ship again. This happens several times, again, 476 times, and out of those 476 times, there are only 3 instances in which BB can envision herself and the others getting on the lifeboat, and out of those 3 times, only one of those times does Mala survive. That being said, when everything finally does go black again, BB sighs. Get a wiggle on it, girl, she says to herself, as she rolls over out of the sand, back onto her stomach and off her back, as consciousness fully returns to her. And as, well, from her perspective at least, the real reality, the base reality, the actuality comes back into focus. She opens up her eyes, and the headache that is filling her makes her want to close them again. But she keeps them open, not because she particularly wants to get up, but because she's seeing which exact reality she is in right now. Struggling to her knees, her back cracking with every single movement of her body, her every joint and muscle aching, she looks around, whispers to herself, that was a real flat tire, wasn't it? And she's looking across the beach, not only to see what everyone else is doing, but to see if Mala is there.
And you do see Mala kind of sprawled out on the sand, slowly coughing, even a bit of water coming out of her mouth. She kind of is moving to just kind of stretch her muscles out, which seems like she hasn't used them in hours since you guys were thrown into the water. She begins to kind of like blink a little bit and look around, and she looks right at you, BB, and she seems to smile weakly.
And when she does that, BB, she pretends to smile back. Now, when BB pretends, her smile is very real. And she makes a mental note that this was a 477th vision she could not see. And then she turns and she goes to see where the pally boy is.
Varys is face down in the sand. His dark, studded leathers soaked by the salt waters. His hair is just matted and frailed, and he hasn't come to yet. And the one thing that is playing in his mind is that same sound, that same image that he saw in the cells. The child crying in the darkness. The sound of a voice that he can't even remember. Shh. It's not safe here anymore. You must carry it. Please forgive me when I'm gone. And at that moment, the pain of the ship, the pain of the memory, the pain of everything that he's felt in these past months, these past minutes, comes overwhelmingly to him. And he lets out a silent scream that fills his mouth with sand and salt water and anything around him, and he begins to and he scrambles forward onto the sands, and then he looks around. Who's here? Where the hell are we? What? Oh God! Oh, I think I'm gonna be sick. Oh hell!
And well, pally boy, seem to be having a bad day over there. I kind of, I'll try to cheer you up, man. I come roll you over, rub your little tummy, but I think you might throw up on me if I did so. And BB stands up, and her knees and her joints pop as she does, and she groans at that. And she, still looking at Varys, continues saying, "So, are you gonna lay down there during this whole vacation of ours from Neverhope, or are you gonna get up and stop crying about the sand in your mouth? We gotta take a wiggle, boy."
As he spits out a gob of what looks to be like sand and salt water out of his mouth, just. Well, I'm glad someone can make jokes after we've survived all this, at least. And he stands up to his full weight, dusting off the dark leathers, and he reaches down to his belts and his attire, and it's almost instinctual to check for the things that he would carry on him. His symbol of Shalimar, his rifles, and his any sort of adornments that he might have carried with him, but then he remembers. He comes out of the shock and he remembers that he doesn't have his weapons. He doesn't have anything. And they're probably marooned on a spit of sand that he has no idea where they are. So immediately the first thing that he would do is look to the rest of them as they're all gathering themselves together. Once he sees that they're all fairly alive and not wrecked with pain, he begins to investigate where they are and look around to try to get his bearings, any sort of footing that he can.
Okay. Make me a... I don't know what this would be. I guess a general intelligence check.
All of us?
If any of you kind of want to figure out where you guys are at this point.
Okay.
All right, I got a 19.
I just want to look up and see where the sun is rising from as I do my check.
Sure, not a problem. So yeah, as you look up, you see the sun is starting to peek up over the forest. Or excuse me. No, sorry. The sun is peeking up behind you, right up over the water, and is beginning to kind of fill the whole sky with like light pinks and blues and everything else. So you can definitely tell that you're probably eastward. Chad, with that roll, I can tell you exactly where you are. You realize now that from where the sun is in position to you, you're actually you're basically at the tail end of the Eastwood. The sun is just poking through, and even if you were to look out at the water, you would see, like very faintly in the distance, the telltale island that is known as Neverhope Prison. You know that if you traveled through the forest, you'd eventually end up at Eastwood, or if you travel along the coast, you would probably end up at the city known as Honor Bay.
Does my 19 help with that information too? Like, do I get the general gist, or?
Well, Chad rolled a nat 20.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But you know what? Very much the same as you rolled a 19. That's pretty damn good. So.
Well, good news. We're not in. Good news and bad news. Good news. We're not near Neverhope anymore. Bad news. We're in Eastwood. And I haven't been here for quite a few months. So I'm not exactly sure what all is going to be greeting us if we go that direction.
And Gideon would actually, like, both arms in the sand, vault himself up to his really tall, almost alien-looking height. And he'll reach up and touch the cracked glass of his eye goggle, and if you were close enough to him, and you're not, you would see just this faint prismatic light just kind of trickle and flow up his veins beneath his skin, up to his fingers, and he's casting mending, and you just see the crack just sort of fill in with glass. And he smiles, kind of his shaky hands losing that shake as he focuses, and he looks at you, Varys, and he says, "More bad news. We are fugitives. For what?" And he thinks to himself, "For what I don't quite remember. All I remember is chaos. But nevertheless, we are en route to Neverhope. So there will be no there'll be no small effort to find us and bring us back there. We must keep our heads on our shoulders." And again, he looks at Mala as he says this.
I'm just happy to be free. You have no idea. I never wanted to go. I never wanted to go there.
But don't get too happy. You're gonna end up going there, okay? It's gonna require some smart, kind of a dumb door. You see what I'm saying? So we're gonna need you to kind of, just follow my lead like you've been doing, okay?
No. Look, I'm a thief. And that's fine. It's what I do. You people are butchers. You killed men, women, and children? I mean, I steal human organs. That's fine, mostly from living people. You do you, but I'm going to do me. So,
Right.
Thank you for rescuing me, and I shall be on my way. And she turns around and just starts walking away from you.
And BB's going to follow her, talking the entire way, and she's beckoning with one hand for someone to follow her because she doesn't trust this girl. And she says, "Now, Miss Smile, let me ask you a quick question real quick. Who's the one that saved your life? The paladin that marked you on Neverhope, or the one who you are calling a butcher, who I can probably prove I am not actually a butcher?"
I think at that point Varys would follow her towards the oncoming of this situation.
And as Varys starts to move towards her, my eyes once again focused with my mended glasses, goggles rather, but they functionally are glasses. I look out in the distance and I see billowing smoke rise from the cabin, and he looks to the others, and particularly to Knuckles, the known muscle of the group, and he says, over there," and he points his long arm and says, "There could be trouble. Is everyone all right? We might have to move."
With that, Knuckles will sort of lurch his hulking form to his feet, sort of shake his head, sort of freeing the sand that sort of got in between his scales, and just see smoke slowly trailing from his nostrils as he flares them, and then turns to face the cabin and goes, I'll go with you, and Let's go see if anybody's home.
Now, question. Now, what about you, Varys, and you, BB? Like, do you guys also look toward the cabin as well?
Well, I'm trying to follow Mala because if she leaves, and BB's mind from her perspective, if she leaves, right, people are going to ask her why is she not in Neverhope because I'm assuming she has contacts, and if she tells them why she's not in Neverhope, people are going to know why we're not in Neverhope. So, still following BB, she looks over her shoulder and she says, "Screw the cabin, guys. This is more important. We can go back there after we handle this."
Sorry, did you say you turn and tell that to the others?
I'm still walking at the mall, but I turn and I'm shouting back at the others to keep coming with me and to not be distracted by their stomachs because we got to handle this issue first.
Sure. Okay. And how about you, Varys?
Varys is torn because I think at that point he sees the necessity of capturing an obvious criminal, someone who openly has accepted and said that, like, I collect organs from people, living people. And hearing that, he's like, paladin mode kicks on. There's like, if it was a light switch, it's from good, like normal good to like lawful good. Like, I have to be lawful now. And it sort of just kicks in. But then he thinks about his other friends, and he thinks about all the other things that need to happen there, and he's like torn between the two. But the law outweighs necessity, and he sighs and begins walking toward Mala, and hoping, just hoping upon hope, that she doesn't have some sort of a weapon, because he is a weaponless paladin that does not have much strength behind his punches.
Okay. Well, make me a perception check or an insight check.
Both of us are just Chad.
Nope, just Chad.
Okay.
As you turn and look for a moment, and you look back, you don't see her. Like, she just gone. She seems to have disappeared. If you have any way to track, or you might be able to see something, but for all intents and purposes, she disappeared.
BB pinches the bridge of her nose and closes her eyes and stops walking. And the head in the back of her head at this point feels like someone is driving a nail into her brain to the skull. And she looks past Varys towards the other two who she yelled at because they want to go check the cabin. In that moment, she feels such a blistering anger, but she bites her lip because she knows that if she starts going on a rant at these two for the next 3 hours, she will not stop, and she knows that she needs to focus on the situation at hand. So, with a sigh and looking around one more time, seeing this girl is gone, she looks back at Varys and says, "Well, I guess wherever we go now, we gotta, worry about some thieves stealing our organs and selling them on the black market."
I promise that I won't let anyone steal your organs. You're
Oh,
fine.
spare me the justice rhetoric, Pally boy. Of all the times, we do not need this right now. I mean, look at us. And she lifts her sleeve again to show you the mark. I'm assuming still on her arm, Mike.
Yeah.
Right. And she shows you the mark, and she says, "We're still marked by the state to be at Neverhope. Look around there, Pally boy. We're not at Neverhope. Before we go around executing your vigilante paladin justice on people, we need to get this off of us and clear our name."
And And yeah, Sigil will like kind of intervene for a second and look at BB and just say, "Listen, I usually trust you in these matters. What I'm saying," and he points to the smoking cabin, and he says, "If people need help, if we help, perhaps we can find our way sooner to equipment, to shelter." He looks around at the rest of the party and sees that Mala is gone and says, "And hopefully to safety." And is there like in your universe, Mike? Is there some kind of karmic belief system? Like
Oh, definitely. With the fact that there are gods, there are many gods, and many of those gods have different names, and even in that, yeah, there's definitely a type of, if you're a dick to people, life has a way of turning around and being a complete and utter asshole to you, kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. So like, can I spitball an exact reference? If you don't have.
You know what? If there isn't, there's about to be, because you're about to tell me what that's called.
Okay. And he looks at BB and he says, "Us helping the girl, it's a little bit like Eber and Esther. She will get what's coming."
I didn't go to old Wyster, Sigil, to come back and listen about Eva and Asa again because I'm not 10 years old. And she walks past you and she kind of slams her hand into the chest, right, of Varys. When she pulls it back, it's going to feel a weight there. And if he looks down and if he's dexterous enough, which she hopes he is, there will be a dagger falling from his chest for him to catch and to use because, well, she's seeing his strength and she knows if she has to fist fight somebody, there's going to be a problem. She doesn't tell him where it came from. She doesn't even mention, the fact that she kind of apparated out of nowhere. She simply says, "But if you want to go to the cabin, and if you want to investigate what's going on, and if you want to dilly-dally around here instead of heading out, then let's go ahead and see what's going on at the cabin then."
There's a small smirk that comes from Varys, and he just shakes his head as it's almost indecipherable where the dagger drops. He kind of grabs close to it like a salute across his chest, and then it's just this very gingerly shove into the boot, like a little boot holster of the dagger just goes into that, like he's rubbing his sore leg from. All right, BB. All right, fine. We'll go to the cabin, and hopefully everything will be there. Hopefully we'll be able to find some shelter, find some items, something to get us out of here. All I know is that Eastwood is not a place you want to be without defenses.
As he's walking, because he's got no interest in staying still anymore, as time is going and anxiety is starting to press in on his temples. He's moving towards the cabin, ushering, but is totally willing to change route in a moment's notice. He's saying, "Best case scenario, we find some goods and can make off unseen. Worst case scenario, we help someone and perhaps find some goods as a result. Either way, we are in an unknown place." And he looks around and he says, "And I am not too comfortable in the Eastwood, so we will play to the art of asking. And let us be good this time." And he ushers the others towards the cabin and hopes to help if there's people that need it.
And as you get closer, Sigil, you actually see that the smoke is not billowing from the cabin itself, but rather a small chimney. It seems like someone is home. Everything has been stowed away neatly. Ropes are tied up, wrapped. Everything is put away. So whoever owns this, be it a fisherman or someone, at least you could tell, is very fastidious. They like keeping everything, exactly where it should be. You can also tell that the boat is tied up, seems to be in very good repair. There's a few, it seems to be fishing poles, kind of laid down in the actual boat itself. The dock seems to be in very good repair. All the boards of wood, everything else seems to be almost looks like it was new or extremely well maintained. The cabin itself is a typical wooden structure, slats, boards, good, fairly good construction. Like, all in all, this is actually a fairly nice place for being out in the middle of bloody nowhere. There doesn't seem to be much in the realm of civilization around. It just seems to be one cabin hanging out by the ocean.
Sigil lets out a sigh of relief. And he looks back at the others and say, thank the gods. We've had enough nonsense today. And he knows that, assuming that this was a blazing flame, is probably has something to do with all of the trauma that they just went through. And he relaxes his grip on his shirt a little bit, and looks to Belle and says, "You have always been the best with people."
Oh, Lordy. I don't got no makeup on, my hair's all a mess, my clothes are wet in rags, but... And she kind of straightens her hair, tucks it behind some of her ears, and then realizing that this is ridiculous and there's no way she's going to be able to look good for anybody right now, she says, fuck it, and she turns around and looks at Knuckles. She says, now, Knuckles, if someone comes out, somehow, or some kind of booby trap comes off, some kind of ambush, someone with a shotgun, please do me a favor and break their arms before they break my pretty face, okay?
Yeah, and I'll hit whatever comes out that door if it threatens you. Don't you worry.
And if you can, kind of don't look at him. You're kind of scary, and you too, Sigil. Just. And she walks up to the door, and with a deep breath, she's going to knock 3 times.
And knocking on the door, you don't really hear anything at first. You do. Eventually, you kind of pick up the sound of shuffling, and you hear kind of muffled, "Just wait a minute, wait." You hear a latch unlock and door open, and the face before you is the face of an old man, but his eyes are milky white. "Hello, who is it?"
Going to raise her finger, and she's going to move it back and forth real quick. What do his eyes do?
Nothing. His eyes are just staring directly ahead. "Hello?"
No, realizing she's like, okay, I'm sorry. I see that a bit of a vision impairment there. My name is Dory. There we go. My name is Little Dory. Me and my friends here, we just had an accident out at sea. Our ship was wrecked. Freak storm came through. Terrible stuff. We lost a friend. I feel like crap. I'm really hoping you can kind of help us.
How many are you?
Well, there's me. I got my boyfriend over here. He's a tall-looking elf kid. We got one dragon-born man. He's got like an iguana head, but I swear he don't bite. He's good for catching the flies around the place. And then we got my brother. What's your name again, brother? Sigi. There we go, Sigi.
Oh, well, yes, come in. And you see him kind of like, he's hunched over. He's kind of holding a cane. And you see it's like a nice, modest place. There's some seats. and everything else. He sits down. Do close the door. There's a bit of a fire going. What? What do you want?
And she moves in. Before she answers, what are the other three doing as they enter?
I imagine that Varys, upon hearing the boyfriend comment, he like stops and like looks at her, and then as they're passing through the doorway, he goes, "You know I have a wife and kids. I have. Why would you lie to this man?"
She pinches you like on the arm, and basically to get you to be quiet.
I'm sorry. It's just I am a vow-stricken man, and I cannot.
You look really tired. Go sit by the fire, warm your clothes. Come on, honey. We'll talk about it later. We got other things to do.
Everything about this is wrong. And eventually, like, he calms down and he just sits in the corner, just like a puppy that's been scolded. Like, I'm gonna talk to you later. We're gonna talk later, but for right now, I'll be quiet.
And Sigil and Knuckles, what are those two doing?
Yeah, so Knuckles would follow in behind, probably having to duck his head, and he goes, you know, I probably take offense to that iguana head comment you made, but it's kind of true. And he walks in and sort of takes a step to the side and stays towards the back of the cabin. He's not really feeling any cold, even though he's not wearing all that much in terms of clothes, so he doesn't really need to be near the fire.
What about you, Sigil? What are you doing?
I imagine Sigil has to duck just to enter. So he does so, and he walks in, and he, as he starts to realize that this is a crucial moment for them, they basically have nothing. He starts to focus on keeping his magic contained again. And you start to see his hand shake ever so slightly, but he sort of hides it behind the corners of his pockets as he nods at the man entering. A fine home, indeed. It is. And he looks around.
Yes, thank you. Pardon. What were you going to say?
And he just says, "It seems quite comforting out here in this normally, I imagine, quiet place." And he looks out, knowing the Eastwood is nearby, and he says, "Do you often have visitors?"
Well, no, not really. I'd somewhat prefer it that way, but
Ha.
if you are in need, see what I can do to help you.
And he smiles and says, and looks at Dory and says, "Thank the gods."
Well, all right, and so there was an accident, you say?
Yeah, it was a freak storm, really. I'm not sure where it came from. The entire ship is totaled. I'll keep it blunt with you. In fact, I just woke up. I'm pretty sure something hit me in the head, or I fell off the boat and almost drowned. But I woke up on the beach, just maybe what do you think, sweetie? About 100 yards down the beach?
And with a sneer, like, yes, 100 feet down the beach.
About 100 feet, excuse me. I'm just a silly little, I'm a dumb Dory, that's why they call me Dory, so I'm not the smartest girl, but, we're not trying to break the bank on you, Mr., what's your name again? I didn't catch it the first time.
That's because I didn't tell you, now did I?
Oh.
My name is Waylon. Waylon Ma. Now.
Waylon Ma. Mm-hmm.
Hmm. And all of a sudden, you see him kind of grab at his eyes, and he's like, "Ah! Ah! What is wrong with you?" And as he kind of wipes his eyes, you see the milky white kind of fading from his eyes, and they begin to look as clear as anything else. Who are you people?
Oh.
And I need all four of you to make wisdom saving throws.
As a reaction, I'm going to spend 2 side points. I'll describe it after you tell me the result of the throw, but I'm spending 2 side points to give myself a double check. Advantage? Yes. Actually, okay, I'm adding +2 for every roll. Okay, never mind, excuse me. So my total is going to be a 7 + 6. It's going to be a 13.
Okay. And how about you, Sigil? What'd you roll?
I lied, 15.
7, but I used the so if he feels any kind of presence, or if there's any reason to suspect this is happening, he would be there'd be a slight flicker in his poppy red goggles as he's using the Tides of Chaos, and I'm gonna re-roll for a 15, which makes my next spell very dangerous.
Sounds good. So everyone but Knuckles, you feel this kind of wave. You begin to feel your muscles seem to lock up, but you seem to kind of like push it off. Unfortunately, Knuckles, you feel your muscles tense and lock up, and you just can't move. You struggle as you might, you just can't seem to move. As Hold Person has been cast upon you. Yes, you can speak, but you just can't do anything.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was supposed to close the bloody door, but, well, I can't right now, so, yeah, sorry about that. Sigi, you want to close it for the kind gentleman here?
Why can't you close it, Knuckles? What are you? You're big. Why don't you close the door yourself?
The time for niceties is over. The four of you. You're with the Conclave, aren't you? Aren't you?
The who's or what's that?
Yes, I can see it now. I tried to hide, but it turns out that you're coming to track me down, coming to take me away.
What? Mister, wait 1 second here. And as I'm doing this, I'm using another psi ability of mine. Basically, he needs to make an intelligence saving throw, 13 or higher, and he passes. And she's going to say, Mister, we're not with the Conclave. We're just lost travelers. That's 9 words total. There we go. And if he fails that saving throw, for the next 5 minutes, he's going to believe what I'm saying is truth.
Okay. He looks at you. Nice try, Mystic. But your mind tricks are not going to work on me. I have not been hiding out here for years to be tricked by some sort of mental parlor tricks.
And as soon as the nice try mystic sentence ends, you see the shaking in Gideon's hands stop, and the sigils start to float around his head, ambiently orbiting his figure as he realizes that their ruse is undone either way. And he looks towards the paladin.
I told you. Lying would not get us anywhere, would it? So, sir, hello, hi. Let us just be frank. We are lost. And no, for as far as I know, we are not from the Conclave. My name is Varys. Varys Whiterun. And these are my companions. I promise you, we mean you no harm. We are not here to collect you.
Make me a persuasion roll.
So that would be a...
You can see his muscles tense for a moment and begin to relax as he sits down. Well, finally. Now, the truth, I can respect that. Yes, I did see the ship break apart in the storm. Well, it wasn't a storm by any means. It was a spell. Something I've not seen before. You'll forgive me from beforehand. I wanted to see if you were users of the arcane yourself. As you can well imagine, arcane magic has fallen out of favor quite a bit, and me being a wizard, I am not looked favorably upon in this world right now. I do apologize. And he flicks his hand, and Knuckles, you feel like as if a weight has been pulled off of your body, and you feel like, although your joints are a little stiff, you can move again.
Yeah. Thanks, Governor. And he's just gonna turn around and just shut the door behind him, and turn to face the old man.
These are dark days. The Enclave, something created to protect people against the fiendish and the abyssal creatures that were being attacked in the war. They seem now to be lording over this place. One with an iron fist and a jackboot. They round up arcane individuals. And when I went to see, well, I went to look at, see what level of arcane magic maybe the four of you had. And you, and he points at you, Varys. Something is wrong with you. You have something on you, in you, possibly on you, I don't know. But you radiate magic, something level I've never even seen before. Perhaps an artifact? You don't seem like a wizard, nor a sorcerer. That one does, he points at Sigil. But you, yes, something is wrong with you.
And at that, he sort of gives a light chuckle. Sir, you have no idea, absolutely no idea how right you are on that. I've felt it for quite some time. I don't know exactly what it is, but you and I are both in agreement that I'm not all right.
Well, whatever it is, you might want to have it looked at, I suppose. It's a sad state of affairs that we've come into a world like this. Technology. Never understood that. Technology. Now, I remember many, many years ago, it used to be a simpler time. You could trust someone. They'd have a good sword arm or be powerful in the realms of magic. There was honor. There was a goodness to that. Now, what do the young people say nowadays? Any mook can be pulled off the street, given one of these guns, and just sent after to anyone. There's no honor in it anymore. Did you know that there are places in the north now where there are monks that are training with guns, mixing martial arts and firearms in some weird cacophony of just oddness? It's all very strange. But I will say this, is that no matter how many guns you have now, nothing compares to whatever you have on yourself.
And he looks himself over as you say this, and that twinge in his arm sort of... Yes. Look, I'm not going to lie to you, I don't know what this is. I've never experienced something like this before, and the last time I remember feeling anything from it, you sort of black it out, you block it away. Look, I'm a paladin, but I don't go around touting it left and right.
Well, it's pretty plain to see that you're a divine follower of some god, I assume, some elven god. Well, have you even looked at your own arm? Lift up your sleeve. Let's just see what it is, at least.
And so he anxiously lifts it back. Shit. And you see what looks to be... Now, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong. This is not the N symbol that we got branded with, correct? This is something different.
That is correct, yeah, it is something different.
So he looks at his arm, and he pulls it up, and you can see what looks to be this sort of a V pattern, this V shape. And if you look at the man's forehead, if you look at Varys's forehead too, it match the symbol on his arm and the symbol that is pretty much engraved in a black sort of tattoo is etched into the top of his forehead too. And it's this V-shape pattern that he has no recollection of ever having tattooed on him, no recollection of ever having that moment, but it's that searing pain that is just residing in that arm. And he looks down at it, and it's just like a surge of emotion comes over him. That surge of everything will be all right. Everything will be okay when I'm gone. And all of that just, you can see him like almost come to tears in that moment, like and then he just sort of covers it back up like, this is why I don't stare at it. Because I don't know what it is, and it frightens me.
I won't lie to you, I've never seen anything like that before. I don't have any books anymore. The Enclave is seen to begin gathering up as many arcane tomes as they can in order to destroy it. However, there's a chance that no, possibly. There's a college perhaps you might have heard of it. It's in Honor Bay. I believe it's called the... because I totally wrote this down. Yes, the Collegia Arcanum. If you go there, they might have something historical. It seems like an arcane symbol, but it's not anything I know for certain anymore. Go there. Now, I've also seen the marks on your shoulders that you're headed for Neverhope, or at least you're supposed to be. But you don't seem like bad people. So either you're very good at hiding it, or perhaps there's more to you than meets the eye.
And at that, Varys looks up, tears rolling down his eyes a little bit. They called us butchers in there. Butchers? Do I look like a butcher to you?
No, you look like an elf. But that's entirely besides the point. Look, many people have been accused of things that they have not committed. You may let that consume you, or you may use that as your own source of power to find out what exactly happened. Now, I would suggest 4 of you either begin to go towards Honor Bay. That might be a place you can find out more about whatever the hell it is on your arm, or you can head through the Eastwood. Perhaps find something there that may assist you. I don't know. But since you've been given this opportunity, I suggest you take it before someone comes in looking to hunt you down. After all, if you're a wanted man, forgive me, and woman, chances are at some point they're going to look into it. Oh, and be careful. Those marks that they put on your shoulders, the paladins of the Enclave Order, they will know that you're near. So if you wish to go and be in cities, be careful who you're near. Because if not, they will hunt you, and you will be back in chains in no time.
And earlier when the Veil said that it's something he doesn't quite understand, that resonated with Sigil on some level, but he snaps back to the present, and as soon as he says in chains in no time, the sore red mark around his neck, the perfect circle, just stings just a little bit more, and he squints and says, "Unfortunately, we, as you definitely know, have been stripped of anything useful. We have no means of traveling safely, or even making it beyond the Eastwoods."
Oh, right, yes. Well, that's not a problem. Hang on, where did I put the damn thing? Ah, right. And you see as he grabs his cane, he actually you see it kind of pop. He twists it and it pops open. There's actually a wand that pulls out of the top of his cane. Here. And he kind of waves his wand, closing his eyes, and you begin to see a kind of a sizable, like a steamer trunk, kind of like lift up from one side of the cabin, and he kind of sets it down. Now let's see what we can find here. And as he kind of waves his wand over top of it, you can hear like locks where you couldn't see an actual lock. You can hear locks like unclicking themselves, and the trunk opens up. Well, you have armor, and that's good. Now, I don't have any guns for you or anything. I don't believe in them. Not right. But at least I can provide you with other weapons. And you see him, he begins pulling out some long swords, some even like a couple of rapiers, some daggers, maces. Basically, here. These weapons are magic. You can even use them as you see fit. Unfortunately, with the advent of firearms, magic swords now are a dime a dozen. But it's neither here nor there. So, as is the case, you do see like a select group of weapons. So, give yourselves. So each one of you can take a +1, either a +1 longsword, or any weapon that would fit your needs based on whatever you want. So, for example, if any of you wants to take like a +1 rapier, there's one in there.
Okay, I think Varys would immediately go for the rapier. He would. That was something that he was known for. His signature weapon on the battlefield outside of firearms. That was the one thing he would go to, and he just grabs that out and he flicks it around and he tests it in his hand a little bit, and then after a moment, this'll do. This will do until I can find a gun. And he just shoves it into like a holster that is probably stricken with salt water, if it still has anything left in it. And he kind of tilts the scabbard upward to pour out any of the salt water that's inside the old leather scabbard, and just shoves it back in. There. It'll do for now.
Gideon will step back and allow definitely would gesture the beefy dragonborn to pick up something heavy or whatever his heart desires. He doesn't seem to be going for anything in particular himself, and he squints.
Yeah, Knuckles moves forward and reaches down into the chest, just brings out this enormous warhammer. Now this is a bit more my style, and just shoves it into his belt and steps back.
And BB, you grabbing anything?
So this is the time BB is extremely silent, and she's been biting her nails watching this man speak. The first and only thing he's really said to her, told her three things all at once. One, that he's very knowledgeable. Two, that he's very powerful. And three, that he knows exactly what she is, which is a very well-kept secret that she's never told anyone in this in present company, let alone anyone, period. So she's been nervous and biting her nails and watching him, and her leg just kicking itself back and again and again. And when the chest comes out and everyone's taking her weapons, her eyes flick to everyone and then back to the old man, and she says, "You want us to go to Honor Bay? Well, you're suggesting it for Varys over here, for Pally Boy to, figure out about this 2 on his head or whatever it is, with these magical weapons when we are already being hunted. Are you just kind of throwing caution to the wind here? Is this not being? Is no one else seeing the problems that I'm seeing?"
Understand this, young lady. I am simply here to help. You've come to me. You at least have been honest with me eventually. But you've not tried to harm me. And believe me, I've had a few smugglers around trying to be less than gentlemanly. And they're not here anymore.
But what about the people that want to harm us? Is what I'm asking. Like, and she walks up to the chest and she picks up a dagger and she says, "This is nice. You know, it's magic. It's powerful. I can feel it, right? But we got these ends on our arms, as you already saw. I mean, what are we supposed to do when the Enclave finds us? Because I mean, they're going to find us. It's not like we can hide easy from them. Pally Boy over here is a paladin, which is why I keep calling him Pally Boy. He knows better than anyone else here, other than me, how tenacious they can be. I'm not digging it. I'm kind of scared, guys. This is not good."
BB, calm yourself. It's gonna be all right. Look, I know you're scared and it's fearful because you're not in Newbell anymore, and to be quite honest, we just escaped a massive ship that we should never have boarded. That is incredibly scary and incredibly dangerous. But the one thing you should know is that we're alive, and this man, this gracious, wonderful man, gave us these weapons. Now, it's up to us at that point. Then use whatever weapons we can, whatever things we have, and use our wits and our skills to survive. Use your survival, and that's all that we have.
Well, Pally Boy, without me, you guys don't got much wit, so I guess I gotta stick around anyway. So, and she takes the dagger and she flips it over her wrist, and if she does so, it's completely gone, as if it was never there. And but I'm doing that because I blade melted it. And she looks at everyone. She looks back to Loma and she says, "I'm not trying to be ungrateful. I thank you a lot for what you've done. It's just, you know how it is to a girl out there, especially when she's a wanted criminal. But you know, again, you know, if I don't have the brains of the operation, they're gonna end up killing themselves. So."
And the Sigil will lean in and say, and we all appreciate that you do that. And surely, and he looks to the old man, he knows a lick of our trouble, or else he wouldn't be helping us in this way. It is like they say in the guild, and he's talking about the Thieves Guild, but he's saying it in kind of like the pretentious way that like television industry people say the industry. Like he's like, it's like people in the guild say, we help our own. And he nods at the old man and says, if there is a catch to this, I'm afraid we are in too desperate a situation to worry about it. We need weapons, and he says after that, but of course, I didn't mean weapons. I meant food. Are you all not hungry?
Now that I can also do. And he points to a table, and he just kind of waves his hand, and you see this amazing looking spread just kind of materialize out of the table itself. Just like fruits and cheeses and roasted meats and cups of wine and water and everything else, just like kind of laid out. By all means, eat your fill. And understand, young lady, I am not here to do things for you. I am only here because I wish to hide from a force even greater. And yes, I've given you magic weapons, and yes, you're right, they are powerful, but weapons of these caliber are not suited for a gunfight. You don't bring a sword to a gunfight anymore. I am giving you the means to survive, as I'm sure the 4 of you are gracious enough to take it. But after that, I would be more concerned with what that man has on his arm. Because I did do a spell upon you when I first saw you, detect magic. And I was almost actually blinded by the light, the magical light coming out of that man. You have in your possession something so powerful that it can shape this entire world, and I would be very, very scared if I were you. And if I were you, I would also very much want to know what that V is. So please be careful. And if any of you can piece together whatever problems you have, come together, you can find out what is wrong. And you are finding out something what is wrong in a world now that is trying to silence magic. We killed the last giants over 1,000 years ago. And upon the death of the last giant, it released magic into this world and has since always been a force to be reckoned with. You are now reaping the both benefits and problems of magic. It is as natural as the air we breathe and the water we drink. Be careful, yes, but don't underestimate it. For all I know, you could be a ticking arcane bomb ready to go off and split this world asunder. Or it could just be a very fancy moving tattoo. I have no idea. But I'd still be very careful.
I will keep everything that you said in mind, sir. And he reaches his hand out to kind of shake your hand, because you've been so gracious to offer us food and to offer us weapons and shelter and things that, if he were in his proper state, if he were in the available nature, he would do for any other person. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I'm sorry I nearly blinded you. If I had known that this, and he can't even call it a tattoo, he can't even call it a sigil or a symbol, this thing on my arm would cause you so much trouble. I would have cut it off right there in Neverhope. I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. This is why you should generally ask people before you cast spells on them. It's a true story. Oh, but that's neither here nor there. But you're all tired. You're all hungry. Especially that tall one. He seems to be very hungry. Go, eat, relax. Let us sit down. Have a meal. And then, perhaps if you need to, stay for a little while. I know it is morning, but if you wish to set out, then yes, by all means, let us set out, well, let you set out, and go find your destiny. Go find the truth. Most of all, find your freedom. Come! Stop letting an old man blather on. Come on, come. And he goes and he kind of shuffles over to the table, sits down, and begins like grabbing like at a piece of cheese and a bit of fruit, kind of mushing it together and like kind of popping it into his mouth.
I imagine that Varys like nods and just sort of follows along, and they just begin to sort of merrily and relaxingly have a dinner together. The first time he's been able to relax in God knows how long they've been in that cage, how long he's forgotten his memories, and he doesn't remember anything as far as that goes for the last at least couple of days. So he's just kind of mellowed out into this This is nice and relaxing. I'm going to take a moment to just breathe and enjoy.
Nice. What about the rest of you?
Do you have a bath by chance?
I'm a wizard, young lady. You can make any type of bath you want. He smiles.
Can you make a shower and make it kind of private? You know, got a lot of
Oh,
guys
no.
here.
Well, no, of course. If you wish to have a yes. Well, here, and he kind of waves his hand. And he creates this kind of like, it looks like almost like a heated cascading waterfall into this huge kind of like wooden tub. Here you are. Is this?
You got
is it-
oh,
all right.
got
And
a
then,
wall? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, it's quite all right. You go ahead and step in. We'll put together something for you. And as you kind of step towards it, you just see this like black, almost like a thin black sheet, but you cannot hear anything from one side of the sheet, and no one can hear or see anything on the other side. So it's complete like a wall of privacy, but nothing like that's really, really thick. So it's like it's all encompassing, kind of a sound dampener.
Perfect. So when she's in the bath and everything, she sits down, she closes her eyes, and then within five heartbeats, Baby begins to cry. She doesn't cry because she's hurt. She doesn't cry because she's sad or depressed in any means. She's crying because she is stressed to the point where she is being put to the breaking area, where after having survived the destruction of the ship, having been framed, having had her entire life pulled out for her, not for the first time, but in the most violent way possible, BB doesn't feel weak or defeated. She simply feels exhausted and stressed, and she just wants to sleep. So she sits there in that bath, and she doesn't come out until the meal is over. And she cries out the feelings that she knows she cannot carry with her if she's to make it back to New Bell alive.
Very cool. How about you, Knuckles and Sigil? What are you guys doing?
So Knuckles is gonna make his way over to the table filled with food. His eyes just wide with. I mean, you can see just so much joy in his eyes of seeing this table just covered in food. And he sits himself down, picks up probably most of a cheese wedge, and just starts just chomping on it in an animalistic kind of way. After a few mouthfuls, he just gives out a huge burp, and a cloud of like black smoke comes from his mouth. You have no idea how much I needed that. And he just goes back to just shoving his face full of food.
And the old man just kind of chuckles to himself as he nods his head, and he grabs a small knife and just cuts off like a small piece of what would be like a roasted, kind of a roasted beef, like sitting in a platter, and kind of like just pops into his mouth and starts smiling. And he looks over to Sigil.
He looks over, and even looking at Sigil is interrupting something, as he's basically like anime levels of ridiculous consumption as he's just shoveling the food in, needing a lot to energize himself, and having been starved quite a bit in their imprisonment. He is catching up ravenously, and in between like a minute straight of eating, and like this cycle will repeat itself, they'll just look up to say thank you, like through food, at the old man, and that's about it. He's kind of focused on that one thing right now.
Well, I hope just don't wait. Just be careful. Don't choke. Don't. That's all right. Whatever. He'll be fine. And he starts laughing.
And I don't know if anyone would have noticed or cared, and it's not important to address it necessarily, but I'll just say that Sigil intentionally did not take a magic item.
Okay. And as all of you sit down to either feast or bathe, we actually leave our party there for the rest of the session, but the camera moves down 100 yards, 200 yards, 1,000 yards down the beach. A heavy set of boots leave deep imprints in the sand. There are 3 men standing. One man, a gentleman wearing full plate mail, with a shotgun kind of cradled in his arms, and a warhammer hanging off his belt, stares at another more familiar man, his clothes soaking wet, his tall frame almost looking like a monolith against these other 2 gentlemen, the third looking very much like the first gentleman, except older. The gentleman with the shotgun says, "I thought you were supposed to kill them." And the taller man replies, "I thought your storm was supposed to sink the vessel without me having to kill them." The older gentleman raises both of his hands to silence the other 2. "Can they be tracked?" Taller man nods his head. "Then please carry on where both you and my son failed. Track them down, and if you cannot bring them in alive, then bring me the parts we need. The arm, bring that to me if you have to, if the rest of the body won't go willingly." The tall man nods his head. "I would still prefer to know what they did." And the younger man, "They were in the wrong place at the wrong time." He looks over, and in the distance he can see smoke rising from a cabin. Points to the cabin. "Go. Find them. Get them. Bring them." And the older gentleman and the, I guess would be his son, both turn sharply, and through plated feet begin to walk up to a waiting vehicle on a road. The taller gentleman straightens himself up, kind of stretches his muscles, turns toward the cabin, and begins to walk towards it. And that is where we're going to end our session for today. I'm such a dick. So a big, huge, massive thank you to my 4 amazing players. I'm going to let them please do their outros and give all of their plugs, because all of their plugs deserve to be plugged. We'll start again from the left with Varys. Varys, if you could please do your outro and plug all your necessaries.
Yeah, man. First of all, this is awesome. Like, I didn't know what to expect going into it, but I can tell from the get that this is just going to be, like, hands down, one of my favorite campaigns that I've ever been a part of. My name is Chad Nick, K-N-I-C-K. You can find me at my YouTube channel, Chad Nick. I'm going to be running more games, hopefully, on there, and I'm also going to be putting out more RPG content on there relatively soon. Also, I have a blog called gastrogamer.wordpress.com, where you can find reviews and information on educational and accessibility reviews that I do for children with disabilities and stuff like that.
Oh man, that's awesome. As a matter of fact, when the game is over, if you could send me a link to that, and I want to put it in the description of this game so more people can check it out.
Oh yeah, dude. Absolutely. That'd be awesome.
Awesome. Great, thank you. Next up, we have Knuckles, everyone's favorite Dragonborn badass. If you guys can give me your outro and plug your stuff.
Yeah, I'm a little bit speechless. I just loved every minute of that. I cannot wait until next time. Yeah, so I run a new YouTube channel with Lionel called Two Guys T and D&D. We're going to cover sort of various different RPGs, run one-shots in them, get some new players on board hopefully, and see where it ends up really. So yeah, I cannot wait for next time, and I'm lost for words.
Oh, sorry, you guys didn't realize this was a one-shot? No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm kidding. Of course, it's the start of a campaign. So next up, we have Sigil. If you could please do your outro and plug all your stuffs.
Yeah, I'm playing Sigil, and he has been a wild magic sorcerer, and didn't get a chance to get too wild yet, but this game has been amazing. And I'm gonna plug. I believe, Mike, your Star Wars game is called Hearts of Change?
It's Heart of the Empire, which is
Heart of the Empire. Yeah. So it's Heart of the Empire. I've been watching it. It's a Tides of Change Star Wars game. I'm gonna plug Mike's game because it's been amazing so far. And I'm also going to plug a game that Chad's playing in, which is the Lore Keepers. So if you like this and you want more, swing around, check out all that stuff. Lots to watch on the YouTubes. I'm Matt B. This has been good. Wish the next game was sooner, but I will wait with anticipation.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And yes, I 130% second to check out the Lore Keepers. It's on Performance Check.
Yep, Performance Check.
Yep, the channel Performance Check. Go check it out. It is a phenomenal game. I very much I love the DM, love all the players. They're all great people. Definitely check it out. Guy's name is Rob Coletta.
While we're at it though, I did kind of right now. Locrius has to confirm, but I have a set date for our next session. So September 12th. September 12th is supposedly. We're trying to aim for that right now, so Locrius has to confirm it, but that's about it. I think I'm excited for that, man.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that would be totally awesome if that was the case. And of course, I would not be a good DM if I did not bring out our wonderful, beautiful flapper girl, Marquise. BB, if you could outro yourself and plug all your stuffs.
What's up, everybody? I'm Marquise Hardis. You probably see me on the news. If you don't see me on the news, you're watching the wrong news, so change the channel. It's been a wonderful game so far, a tremendous amount of fun. You will see me in future games, especially this campaign, trying to copy Chad's amazing voices, failing at it, but nonetheless trying anyway. So it's been a pleasure as always, and I cannot wait for the next session, Mike, because I had a blast playing this game.
Thank you very much. And of course, I'm Mike. I'm the DM. Where I do DM and stuff. See, it says right there. You get it. And of course, if anything, I would. You're already watching my channel, so I don't have no need to plug it. If anything, I'll be plugging. Check out Absolute Tabletop on Facebook, absolutetabletop.com for all of your awesome supplemental needs. And check out A Fistful of Dice, where the Provokers are going to be riding on September 25th. And apparently someone here is going to be playing in it. What? This guy? So that's a very exciting and scary prospect. This is it's a campaign that I have a ton of respect in. All the players involved and Matt, the DM, is just jaw-dropping. It's an honor and it's a pleasure. So from everyone here, I want to thank you all for watching. And hey, you know what? Let's tune in next time when we find out what happens to these poor people in the Ironhead Chronicles Redemption. So until then, this is Mike. Get inspired.